Alright y'all, what is up? It is the Cozy Representative. I am back. This is going to be my last video of 2019. I'm going to take a little break for the holidays, but I will be back after this in the New Year's. This video is not sponsored by, but is presented to you, fueled by Caramel Macchiato International Delight Iced Coffee. I'm sucking this down. It tastes great. It's giving me the fuel I need to make today's video, which is about, you guessed it, the career of, and also asking what happened to, the classic Fueled by Ramen scene power pop act, Cute is What We Aim For. Let's get into it.
Stitch my ripped jeans and take the old ones and take the old ones out. Bags on the tight, that seems please. Red knees. I'm down, please. That's how we move. You're giving me a run for my money.
Yes. Cute is what we aim for. Today we will be doing a deep dive into this band who were a true scene relic. One of the main power players in the Fueled by Ramen emo pop explosion of the mid to late 2000s, alongside bands like, The Academy Is, Cobra Starship, Fall Out Boy, and many, many others. Cute is what we aim for exploded onto the scene with their now classic and tremendously catchy 2006 debut record, The Same Old Blood Rush with a New Touch, which featured the huge MTV hit The Curse of Curves, which gave them an immense amount of hype and buzz in the emo world at the time, with people predicting that they would be the next band to follow in the footsteps of the scene's most successful bands like Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco. They put out a second record in 2008 entitled Rotation, which took the sound that they had on Blood Rush, tightened it up, matured it a bit, and seemingly made them a lot more accessible to greater audiences, unlike their primarily teenage-oriented debut. Despite the maturing of style and the tighter songwriting, for whatever reason Rotation did not hit as hard as their debut did, and failed to have any big hit on it, like The Curse of Curves. And after that is where the water in the Cute is What We Aim For story gets a little bit murky. They sort of broke up in 2009, and then Shant brought it back with all new members in 2010, and then the original lineup seemingly got back together around 2012, 2013, and then Shant got in trouble for saying some questionable things on Twitter around 2016, which we'll get into, but they still tried to keep the band going with all new members again after that, or at least Shant did. Not to mention they had been promising a third record throughout that entire time. But now, currently, it's 2019, almost 2020. There has never been a third record. There's been like a million different Cute is What We Aim For lineups since Shant brought it back 9 years ago. And at this moment, I have no idea if Cute is What We Aim For even exists anymore. Regardless of their semi-confusing history, their 2006 debut, The Same Old Blood Rush with a New Touch, is now looked back on as somewhat of a classic from this era. And the whole album bumps all the way through to this day. Or maybe I'm just biased because this album practically got me through 8th grade. That being said, let's explore the career of this iconic scene band and find out just exactly what happened to Cute is What We Aim For, because we're all wondering this, am I right? So, the origins of Cute is What We Aim For date back to 2003 when guitarist Jeffrey Zum and vocalist Shant Hasikian, I think I'm pronouncing both of those names right, I don't know, sorry if I'm not, joined a Buffalo, New York, which is where they were from, a Buffalo, New York based ska punk band called Cherry Bing. Yes, you heard that right, a ska punk band. It gets weirder. Shant and Jeff did not start this band. Cherry Bing had already been a band since 1999 with a guy named Michael Angelikos on lead vocals. With him, they had a couple releases under their belt, with him as a vocalist, a full-length entitled The Buffalo Superheroes in 2001, as well as the 60 Hertz EP in 2002. Michael Angelikos left Cherry Bing in 2002 and later went on to become the frontman of prominent indie electronica act Passion Pit. Yes, Passion Pit. Pretty fucking strange, right? So, Passion Pit guy leaves this ska band. Shant joins as the vocalist, as well as Jeff on guitar. I just want to say I had no idea about any of this until just recently, and it kind of sounds like something out of that Bernstein Bears universe, you know what I mean? It almost doesn't even seem real, but apparently it is. Anyway, with Shant at the helm on vocals, Cherry Bing released an EP in 2004 entitled In a Language All Our Own. It's on Spotify, and it's a pretty solid release if you ask me. It's worth checking out if this band sounds of any interest to you. It's certainly an artifact at this point. By the time that this release came along, Cherry Bing had evolved their sound from straight-up ska punk to their own self-proclaimed genre, rock with horns. And of course, Shant's smooth, silky vocals gave it that emo, pop-punk flair. So this is what Cherry Bing sounds like on the In a Language All Our Own EP. And then, a teenage, high school-aged Shant comes in.
You got what you wanted, now you're all set to go. No, you're not leaving.
Yep, that's Shant. Pretty crazy, right? Who would have thought? It's also worth noting that there are some lyrics and vocal melodies that were originally in Cherry Bing songs that they took and put into some of Cute Is What We Aim For's early tracks. The song Don't Hesitate to Hate contains the lyric, "Your clothes don't fit the season, you're cold and that's the reason."
My clothes don't fit the season. I'm cold and that's the reason.
Which later appeared in the Cute Is What We Aim For song, I Put the Metro in Metronome.
Your clothes don't fit the season. You're cold and that's the reason.
Their song, I Don't Care If It's the Moon, We're Going, features a reference to left side, strong side.
You see my left side is my strong side.
Which became a part of their song title, Teasing to Please, parentheses, left side, strong side. And also features a vocal melody that reappears in the song Lyrical Lies.
It's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. In your lids are your best canvas. I can only imagine what you're painting.
In fact, here's a video of Shant and Cherry Bing performing that song live at a show.
Got 76 inches and 88 keys. Get me where I wanna be. It's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. Got 76 inches and 88 keys. Get me where I wanna be. It's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not.
I just want to bring up that on that very YouTube video, I found some pretty interesting comments in the comment section. Let's take a look. Certain Shade of Green 2012 writes, and this was 10 years ago. Well, kind of. Shant wrote it and it was on the Cherry Bing CD In a Language All Our Own. Shant and Jeff then decided to leave the band because they were told ska was out, pop was in. So they did, and took the song with them because they knew they'd make money off it. Interesting. Let's dive a little deeper, shall we? Some other comments I found are quite obviously from very salty ex-Cherry Bing members. This is the T sister, so let's check it out. MTav says, 7 years ago, I wrote that song with Shant in my dad's backyard. That's me playing the piano. Fuck that kid. Whoa! Adam Schroeder writes, to make it clear, that's me playing piano, and we wrote that song in my father's backyard when we were like 17. Is that a different guy? Or those two, they basically said the same thing. I don't fucking know. Cute Is What We're Gay For claims this song is their own, and even though the music is all me. Thanks for stealing my song, asshole. Ooh, ouch. So it's pretty obvious what the people from the whole Cherry Bing scene thought of Shant and Jeff when they started doing Cute Is What We Aim For. I'm a little confused by these comments, though, because they claim that Cute essentially stole this whole entire song note for note and used it as their own. However, to my knowledge, they never quite did that. They only took a few lyrics and small vocal melodies from Cherry Bing, not any entire songs. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Either way, these people are probably mostly just salty because the amount of success that Cute Is What We Aim For achieved in such a short time frame, as well as Passion Pit. Cherry Bing played their last show in October of 2004, and Shant and Jeff started Cute Is What We Aim For in January of 2005. What followed was a meteoric rise to the top of the emo totem pole. If Certain Shade of Green 2012 on YouTube is correct, and Jeff and Shant were told that ska was dead and pop was in, they certainly made a smart, business decision, because whether they knew it or not, they were about to ride the emo pop explosion as far to the top as it would take them. And it turns out that that was pretty freaking far. Stripping away the horns and skanking of their cherry bing past, Cute Is What We Aim For formed in early 2005 and quickly began posting their early demos onto their MySpace page.
Unselfish as selfish comes, you're giving me a run for my money, honey. You want to be dressed in poetry, but imagery doesn't fit. And you want resizing, but darling dear, get a grip. Drama doesn't follow me right on my back. I may be ugly, but be sure like this there.
Sippy sip. After posting their catchy, melodramatic, poppy emo tunes onto the internet, they started gaining some modest buzz on MySpace as well as Pure Volume. Their first big break came in the spring of 2005 when Cute won Pure Volume's online Battle of the Bands competition, securing them a high-profile spot at that year's Bamboozle. And get this, it was only their third show of all time. Around the same time, they experienced some unexpected overnight online success after, believe it or not, the leader of the Hawthorne Heights street team reposted their demos on MySpace. In an interview in 2016, Jeffrey Zum described their early days and this unexpected occurrence in greater detail. He says, quote, "The fact that we kind of blew up on a whim, none of that was ever supposed to happen. I remember me and Shant just wanted to be an established local band in Buffalo, and we put a few songs on MySpace and Pure Volume, and literally overnight, it just like blew up. The street team leader from Hawthorne Heights reposted our songs on MySpace," Zum said. "Literally overnight, we got like 10,000 fans on MySpace and started to get attention from labels." After this lucky break, the band saw the buzz continue to grow online, and they continued to play shows and upload demos. As Jeff said, many record labels began approaching Cute with offers, all of which Cute declined, until one day when they got a call from John Janik, the owner of Fueled by Ramen Records.
We put our songs online, and about 6 months later, after conceiving the band, or the band's conception rather, John Janik of Fueled by Ramen called me when we were in Baltimore rush hour traffic on our first tour that was very crappy, and he said it was pretty crappy. It was a cool experience, but and he calls me and says, "This is John Janik of Fueled by Ramen," and I hung up on him straight up because I was just like, "No, it isn't. This can't be him." And he calls me back, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry." Just got to talking. Then met him in Florida. Played, worst show of our lives. Instrument cables falling out left and right. Like, I for sure thought he was done with us. Like, didn't want anything to do with us. Went to the office the next day on an off day, and then a month and a half later we were signed. So things just kind of happen.
And on November 29th, 2005, it was announced that Cute Is What We Aim For had officially signed to the Fueled by Ramen roster, and their debut full-length would be coming out in the following year, 2006. Pretty impressive for a band who had formed less than a year prior, who hadn't even released an EP or even, officially released a song yet, just demos on MySpace, and whose members were all fresh out of high school, averaging around 18 years old. They were living the dream, and the sky was truly the limit for Cute Is What We Aim For.
1, 2, 3, 4! What you got now? Gotta give it up. What you got now? Gotta give it up. Not now. What you got now? Please, it's the story that you provide. So the rest is on you, and don't forget to check the obvious, which is real. So I have to go down, so I was love without you.
In March of 2006, their new single, The Curse of Curves, was made available for streaming on their Pure Volume site, and following this they went on a spring tour with Punchline, Valencia, and New Atlantic, followed by a brief early summer tour with Anne Berlin. Finally, on June 20th, their debut full-length record, The Same Old Blood Rush with a New Touch, was released on Fueled by Ramen Records. It debuted at number 75 on the Billboard Top 200 and sold 28,000 copies within the first month of its release. This album was actually the fastest-selling debut record in Fueled by Ramen history at this point, which is pretty impressive considering they hadn't really been a band for very long and seemingly just showed up out of nowhere. Because of their overnight success as well as their glossy image, kind of goofy band name, catchy pop hooks, and at times vapid lyrics, The Same Old Blood Rush with a New Touch actually received some pretty negative reviews upon its release, despite the fact that it sold so many copies and gained so much hype right out of the gate. AllMusic stated that the album, quote, is basically a vapid product of the MySpace generation. The whole album just seems so contrived and pointless that any sporadic moment of disposable hooky bliss is quickly overshadowed by annoying wordplay. And it also called the album the musical equivalent of, quote, an ironic trucker hat. Even if it catches on with the masses for a time, that doesn't make it right. Drowned in Sound wrote that the album contained, quote, little substance of any kind, emotional or otherwise. He went on to call the band a low-rent My Chemical Romance, that doesn't really make any sense to me, or a lesser Panic at the Disco because of Hasikian's vocals. The Drowned in Sound review also featured this hilarious paragraph. For me, if this is emo, where's the emotion? There's little substance of any kind, emotional or otherwise, present within The Same Old Blood Rush with a New Touch. Even the vocals from Shant Hasikian lack any kind of conviction as they limp passionlessly from track to track, with Hasikian himself sounding more concerned with preserving his male model hairstyle and keeping his shirt perfectly pressed for the clothing sponsors than putting any real feeling into what he's saying. Not that what he's saying has any real worth. Each and every song seems more focused on getting laid, lust, and obsession than the last. Oh, shots fired. Wow, that was harsh. So, it's obvious what the critics thought of Cute's debut, and I'm not going to sit here and read the other reviews this album got because they're pretty much all similar to those, unfortunately. So, as far as critics and old heads in the scene were concerned, the general consensus of Cute at this time was that they were a flash in the pan, an overnight success who weren't deserving of it, a vapid, second-rate, watered-down version of more prominent bands during this time like Fall Out Boy or Panic at the Disco, and look, I love this band and this record, and I think it's easier to give this record more of a fair shake nowadays since it's been, like 13 years since it came out, and I'll expand on the record's legacy and my opinion on it in a second, but I understand why it got such negative reviews at the time, and why Cute Is What We Aim For reviewed the way that they were. For starters, yes, they were a Fueled by Ramen band, riding the emo scene pop mainstream explosion right at its prime around 2006 and 2007, spearheaded by Fall Out Boy, Panic, The Academy Is, Cobra Starship, all that shit. If you look at it like this, by the time 2009 had rolled around, the neon emo pop wave had already hit its peak, and it was starting to become a bit oversaturated, and was just about to die down a little bit. Glossy, cheesy, pop punk with a huge emphasis on the pop type bands like Hey Monday, the Friday Night Boys, We the Kings, and Forever the Sickest Kids had taken over. Bands who had actually taken a lot of influence from the blueprint Cute Is What We Aim For had originally laid down. No shade towards any of these bands. I love all these bands and grew up on all of them, but let's compare this later 2009 era of the scene to the Fueled by Ramen roster in 2006 when Cute Is What We Aim For first came along with their debut. When The Same Old Blood Rush had dropped, Fueled by Ramen had bands like the criminally underrated pop-punk pioneers Punchline.
Open up and say, oh, if you want coming to ya, tell you what I think is right.
Timeless pop-punk titans like Fall Out Boy and Paramore. The boundary-pushing, vaudevillian pop-rock act Panic at the Disco. The ahead-of-its-time, genre-defying alternative hip-hop of Gym Class Heroes. The mature indie rock of The Hush Sound. breathtakingly good indie rock mavens Days Away. Underrated, cutting-edge, genre-pushing indie pop rock bands such as This Providence, Forgive Durden, and even The Academy Is. Hell, even classic 90s hardcore band fucking Lifetime were on Fueled by Ramen at this point. Lifetime! While Fueled by Ramen and the emo scene pop wave as a whole, which includes records like Fearless Records, Hopeless Records, Decadence, yada yada yada, were just beginning to find success in the teenage market with the mainstream success of Fall Out Boy and Panic, the scene at this point was obviously full of more, I hate to say it, but quote-unquote credible acts, Now, don't get me wrong, who these acts were credible to is up for debate. I guess that's more like the older people, the old heads in the scene, the critics, if you will. But to them, quote-unquote, credible acts, who were all special, adventurous in their own right, and all bringing something fresh, artful, and imaginative to the table. You know, not to diss Cute Is What We Aim For or any of the later era scene bands, because these, as I stated, these are bands that I grew up with and still love to this day. But Cute Is What We Aim For were one of the first bands that marked a shift in the genre, where it began to change from bands who were more rooted in punk, or progressive indie rock, or pop-punk bands with a hardcore influence, taking mold after bands like Saves the Day or Taking Back Sunday, to more cookie-cutter, seemingly image-based, essentially pop bands who had electric guitars and shared more in common with the Jonas Brothers than a band like Lifetime or Jawbreaker. You see what I'm getting at here? If you put the same old Blood Rush with a new touch up against, Forgive Durden's 2006 debut record Wonderland, or Gym Class Heroes' genius 2004 record The Papercut Chronicles, or even the innovative pop-punk of The Academy Is Almost Here, if you're an adult listening to all this shit for the first time, the Cute Is What We Aim For record will undoubtedly come off as the most vapid, watered-down, teenage-oriented, trend-chasing album of them all. However, despite what jaded adults in 2006 who were aging out of the scene thought of Cute Is What We Aim For and bands of that ilk at the time, there was a whole generation of young kids who were responding to it. After all, it sold a shit ton of records and had way more of an impact and influence than Forgive Durden could have ever hoped for. And me, the cozy representative, well, you're looking at one of those young kids in that new generation whose early teen years were defined by bands like Cute Is What We Aim For and We the Kings and Hey Monday. This new generation of kids, at the time, not now, but at the time, had no concept or even a morsel of a care in the world that Cute Is What We Aim For didn't have the indie cred of a band like Gatsby's American Dream, or didn't take any influence from Jawbreaker. This was the start of a new era, a changing of times, and to my generation, the group of people my age that I grew up with, the same old Blood Rush was a great record that, much like a lot of those Fueled by Ramen emo pop records, got you through your difficult adolescence and made you feel warm inside, and made you feel like someone understood you during times when no one seemed to understand. That's what a record like The Same Old Blood Rush is to me. It's a place in time. It's a nostalgic time capsule. These songs spoke to me and made me feel like I had an identity when I was in 8th or 9th grade. A record like this was the soundtrack to fun summer nights with your friends in the city when you were 14, and also the soundtrack to your first crush, and the soundtrack to how painful it felt when you found out that that crush actually wanted nothing to do with you. It was there for you when you needed it, and now, as an adult, this record is still there for me when I need to go back to that place. When adult life gets too complicated and scary, I can put on this record and remember what it felt like when everything was a whole lot simpler and seemingly a whole lot more meaningful. It didn't matter what the old, bitter, jaded critics of the time said about it. A passing trend? Sure, you could call it that, but it was a trend that defined a generation and saved a lot of lonely souls back in the day, and still does. So, without talking about this for too long, you get the idea of where I'm coming from on why The Same Old Blood Rush is looked back on as a classic in the scene, and holds up a lot of meaning for a lot of people, despite some goofy lyrics that didn't necessarily age well, or Chant's sometimes too nasal vocals. The Same Old Blood Rush is a fun listen and a truly great pop-punk record. If You Let It Be. Newport Living, There's a Class for This, and The Curse of Curves are all excellent singles and bona fide classics as far as the classic Fueled by Ramen roster goes. Risk is a perfect song to listen to when you have a crush on someone. Sweet Talk 101 and I Put the Metro in Metronome are slabs of perfectly bouncy, fun pop punk with emotive vocals. Lyrical Lies and Teasing to Please are beautiful, somber tracks. Finger Twist and Split makes me feel like I'm literally walking through the hallways of my high school in my freshman year, feeling all of those feelings all over again in the best way possible. And I just want to say, Sweat the Battle Before the Battle Sweats You is probably the most underrated song on this album if you ask me. God, that's such a banger. So, that's all I'll say about that. The Same Old Blood Rush comes out in 2006. You know, the critics and the haters are mad, absolutely fuming, but the kids are loving it, eating it up, buying the CDs, buying the merch, singing it with their friends, going to the shows, absolutely frothing at the mouth for the boys and Cute Is What We Aim For, and they were off to the races as far as touring goes. Peep this, following the release of their record, they went on the Fueled by Ramen tour in the fall of 2006 with Paramore, Hit the Lights, and This Providence. I don't know about you, but that's fucking stacked. Oh, you think that's stacked? Following that, they started off 2007 with a tour with This Providence and All Time Low, followed by the 2007 AP tour with, get this, Circa Survive, As Tall as Lions, and Envy on the Coast. Holy shit. I would do crazy things to time travel back to that and attend that tour.
This is our camp that you take and you pull and you find a way out of what you got yourself into. What when you try, but when you try to get out, you'll never find. That most every people will be attracted to. Yeah. If you pick my left side because you know how we do.
They then did Warped Tour the following summer of 2007. You didn't think this was epic enough? Followed immediately by the Young Wild Things Tour, an arena tour featuring Cute Is What We Aim For, Gym Class Heroes, The Plain White Tees, and headliners Fall Out Boy. And subtle humble brag, but I did attend this tour back in the day, and it was awesome! Anyway, meanwhile, their debut was selling tens of thousands of copies, and their video for The Curse of Curves was all over MTV. They were blowing up. 2007 was quite the year for Cute Is What We Aim For. They were truly living the fucking dream. As 2007 came to a close and the touring cycle for Blood Rush had wound down, Cute Is What We Aim For found it imperative to ride the wave of hype by releasing some new music. So, 2008 saw them getting in the studio to work on their sophomore release, Rotation.
You had your debut album,
Yes.
kind of exploded. I mean, from where you were before that, right?
from being in a basement. Yeah.
Exactly. And now, how does it feel trying to follow that up? Are you feeling a lot of pressure?
No, because the pressure you can't control. You know what I mean? So it was, for us, we all sat about it and we said, are we going to let the pressure affect it? But it might have affected in our frustration to write, but no, that's like fighting a war against jealousy, as David Cross would say. You know, there's no point in worrying about the pressure. We're so lucky to be where we are in the first place. We need to just appreciate what we have instead of worrying about where we need to be.
Oh yeah, that's good. After hitting the studio with all-star producer and also singer of the ska punk band Goldfinger, John Feldman, Cute Is What We Aim For released their second record entitled Rotation on June 24th, 2008, once again through Fueled by Ramen Records.
Yo! It's here. Rotation. Today we release it. We're Cute Is What We Aim For.
Leading up to the recording of Rotation, Cute Is What We Aim For found themselves with some minor lineup instability and went back and forth between a few different bassists. Original bassist Fred Simato left the band in October of 2006 and was replaced by Jack Marin, formerly of the Fueled by Ramen act October Fall. After only playing with Cute for 6 months, Jack Marin left the band halfway through their tour with Circus Survive and posted this explanation online. Quote, "A little over 6 months ago, I received a phone call asking me to play bass and Cute Is What We Aim For. I accepted the offer. At first when I joined the band, everything was great and everyone seemed happy, but shortly after I started having some personal issues with another member. I've just tried to ignore the problems, but the truth is, I'm just not happy at all. This is a decision that I've been debating for weeks. Even as I was getting ready to tell the guys, I was still wondering if I was making the right decision. But I've finally decided that it's in my best interest to leave this band as soon as possible. It's a matter of principle, and to me, being in the band just isn't worth what I have to deal with." Now, it is just my hunch, but I'm guessing that the other member who he had been having personal issues with was Shant. It later became known that Shant's bad attitude and poor life choices during this time were causing a lot of problems within the band, but we'll get into that more a little bit later. After Jack Marin left, Fred Simato, the original bassist, actually came back to the band. However, he left the band once again in March of 2008 for unknown reasons. Following this, a guy named Dave Melillo took over on bass duties, who had actually already joined the band as a second guitarist before Warped Tour 2007. So the band was actually briefly a 5-piece, and then Dave switched to bass when Fred left. Confusing, I know. Before joining Cute Is What We Aim For, Dave Melillo was actually a solo artist who released an EP on Drive-Thru Records in 2006 called Talk Is Cheap.
I take a walk down to the shore, and I wonder how much longer I'll sustain these steps.
This EP is actually really sick if you're into stuff like early Dashboard Confessional or The Rocket Summer, and I recommend checking it out if you haven't. Either way, Dave Melillo is officially on bass duties for the Rotation era Cute Is What We Aim For, while the rest of the lineup remained the same, and for the most part, things seemed rather smooth. Musically, Rotation is a huge step forward coming from the place where they were on Blood Rush. The instrumentals are a lot tighter and more in the pocket, Shant's vocals sound a lot fuller and less nasal and grating this time around, the songs have a lot more personality, and the songwriting itself is a lot more quote-unquote mature. Whether the haters liked it or not, Cute Is What We Aim For grew up a lot on this record, both musically and lyrically, and progressed in a monumental way. Although Blood Rush is looked back on as the classic record, if we're talking about sheer songwriting chops, performance, and production value, Rotation is definitely the better record if you ask me. Practice Makes Perfect is a powerful, catchy lead single and shows the progression they made on this record right off the bat. Doctor and Do What You Do are probably two of the best songs Cute Is What We Aim For ever made. Hollywood is an intense, moving song with some shockingly intelligent lyrics coming from a band like Cute Is What We Aim For. Also, The Lockdown Denial, Loser, and Marriage to Millions are all perfect slabs of finely tuned, well-crafted, masterful pop rock. The rest of the record soars with big choruses, extremely catchy vocal hooks over tight, polished, well-performed instrumentals, making Rotation a truly great pop rock record. Rotation sold 23,000 copies in its first week, hitting number 21 on the Billboard Top 200, and received generally positive reviews from critics, who commended the band for tightening up the screws, maturing a little bit from their previous offering, and delivering a genuinely solid record. Despite this, for whatever reason, as far as the legacy of Cute Is What We Aim For goes, this record has seemingly been slightly lost to time. It doesn't seem like many people mention it or allude to it very often. People usually only talk about The Curse of Curves or other songs on their first record, which has, as I said, lived on to be the more iconic and talked about record, despite Rotation being kind of a better album. It's a shame, and I think Rotation is truly an underrated record in this sense, as far as this era goes. Here are some reasons why I think Rotation got a little bit lost in the shuffle, both at the time and nowadays looking back. The first is, by the time 2008 had rolled around and this record had been released, like I had mentioned earlier, the super glossy, polished, super poppy pop-punk style that Cute Is What We Aim For had, in some regards, kind of pioneered a little bit on their first record, had now exploded into a whole new wave of neon bands that made it hard for Cute Is What We Aim For to stand out. Bands like All Time Low, The Main, Every Avenue, Forever the Sickest Kids, that whole neon wave was in full effect at this point, and even though Cute Is What We Aim For were only on their second record, these short attention spans of kids listening to the music made it hard for bands to stay afloat and have a lasting value with all the fresh, new, more exciting bands coming in. Speaking of which, and while we're on the subject, early The Main kind of looked a lot like Cute Is What We Aim For, and sounded a lot like them too. I mean, look at how much the singer of The Main resembles Shant here. Hell, when I Google image search Cute Is What We Aim For, a freaking picture of The Main comes up at the very top of the page. Also, check out part of this song off of The Main's first EP, The Way We Talk.
Oh, I've been changing. You're still waiting on me. You'll never let go. She said I'll never grow up.
Sounds kind of like something that would sound right at home on the same old Blood Rush with a new touch, no? Anyways, this kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier, and maybe why Blood Rush is looked at as so iconic nowadays. It's because even though that record was misunderstood and hated on by many scene veterans when it came out, it actually influenced a lot of kids listening, as well as a lot of bands. Bands like The Main and many others began coming out of the woodwork, biting Cute Is What We Aim For's style just a little bit. Regardless, newer neon bands were coming out of the woodwork and getting huge, which may have taken some attention off of rotation a bit. Another thing that was going on around this period, which I briefly touched on earlier, were rumors that their singer, Shant, was kind of an asshole. I mean, let's take a look at this. On September 2nd, 2008, just a few months after the release of Rotation, their drummer, Tom Falcone, quit the band mid-tour. In case you didn't remember, their old bass player Jack Marin also quit mid-tour a year earlier. Members leaving a band mid-tour doesn't typically happen when things are amicable between members, obviously. Even when things aren't amicable between members, I feel like people will usually wait until a tour is over to leave a band. This, to me, shows what crazy drama and fights must have been happening within the Cute Is What We Aim For camp behind closed doors, driving people to want to bail so immediately like that. So that was that. Not only was the lineup unstable due to conflicts within the band, rumors, as I stated, also began to circulate that Shant wasn't exactly the nicest dude and may have been sort of the driving force behind this inner band drama as well as talk amongst fans about his reputation or whatever. I mean, let's take a look at this funny word that I found submitted to Urban Dictionary back in 2006. Shasshole. Shasshole, maybe? Derogatory word used to describe Shant Hasikian, lead singer of Cute Is What We Aim For, as he is often an asshole who treats people like shit and hits on 14-year-old girls. This is unconfirmed, but I don't know. A word had to be created to describe the level of his supreme douchitude. The term may be used to describe someone as the biggest asshole possible, even if they're not Shant. Bobby, fuck you. Tommy, dude, don't be such a asshole. Kid, hey Shant, can I get an autograph? Shant, ha, keep walking. Kid, what a fucking asshole. Quoted because it actually happened. Once again, don't know the validity of that, but hey, it's on the internet from 2006. Who knows, man? Okay, despite all of this, following Rotation and the drummer Tom Falcone's departure, the band continued touring in support of Rotation in 2008 with drummer Mikey Lasapinara, who used to be a drum tech for the Academy Is, fun fact, at the helm. In early 2009, Cute went on a headlining tour called the Take Action Tour with support from Megan Dia, Breathe Carolina, Every Avenue, and Ann Arbor. After this tour, on August 17th, 2009, Shant tweeted this: "I'm going solo. Thank you for every inkling of support." Wow, what does it mean? A few days later, on August 20th, 2009, Alternative Press had reported that Cute Is What We Aim For had broken up. While no official statement has been issued, it appears that Buffalo pop band Cute Is What We Aim For have finally come to an end after a particularly tumultuous 4-year career, the article stated. Dave Melillo shed some light in an interview given around this time where he stated, "At the beginning of August, I let Shant know that I was leaving the band. At the beginning of July, Mikey, Jeff, some family friends, and I sat down with Shant. We told him the things that he needed to change as far as attitude and demeanor goes. I want to make it known that I shut him out of my life after that. He needed to be on his own if he was going to do anything positive for himself. There was not a visible change in his attitude or work ethic when I got back to Buffalo, so I decided to live my own life. Melillo also stated in a later interview with Alt Press, quote, "The blame, towards their breakup, can be put on one person." While no official remarks had been given by Jeff Zum at this time, Melillo also had confirmed that he had quit the band at the same time that he did. Following this, Jeff, Dave, as well as the drummer, Mikey Lasapinara, went on to form a pop-rock band called Nocturnal Me, who sounded like this.
She said, call me when you get there, when you're at the airport, and you won't be there. She said, call me when you get there, when you're at the airport, and you won't be there.
Kind of like a watered-down version of The Cab, if you ask me. And it was pretty much crickets from Shant after that. Cute Is What We Aim For were done, and after 4 difficult years with many trials, tribulations, member changes, you name it, they ultimately couldn't make it work and decided to call it quits. Until...
So this is your first tour back after being split up for about a year. How does it feel to finally be back on the road making music?
Dope. It's an illest thing. It's definitely something I didn't think I would miss as much as I did, and now looking back on the past 4 weeks, knowing that we only have 2 left is kind of a bummer, but I've got the fire inside and I'm ready to keep it up and do it again.
So was there a story behind why you guys broke up?
Yeah, of course there is.
What is that story? Or closest to it?
We broke up. Now we're back. AKA, I just brought my band back.
In April of 2009. Editor's note, April of 2010, not 2009, April of 2010. Okay, back to the video. It had been reported in alternative press that Shant was bringing back Cute Is What We Aim For with him, as well as a whole entirely new lineup. He had also opened up about his problems with alcoholism that he was going through during the original run of the band, which, might explain some of his behavioral choices or, dramatic things going on within the band. Anyway, in an interview with Alt Press from around this time when he brought the band back in 2010, Shant said the following. "We got home from the Take Action tour in April, and it ended up being idle time in the Devil's Playground. We spent our time partying with friends that we hadn't seen while we were on the road and lost focus of our music. Cute sat down and all decided it was best we stop working together. At that point, I figured I couldn't stop. I had to keep going. Then I realized that I had some serious issues with alcohol abuse, and it took waking up in a pool of blood one day to decide I needed rehabilitation. My world was coming down on me from the depression and alcoholism, and then my baby, my dream, was falling away. I understood that it was all my doing through my abusive actions with substances. I went to rehab in October and joined some friends afterward to work on their project, but it kind of turned into something more. However, I was battling depression and it was getting dark. We were writing acoustically because I needed an outlet, but I didn't know if in my current state would allow me to continue doing Cute or anything along those lines. Then, the 5-year anniversary of the band starting in my bedroom came around in January, and I decided I couldn't quit because this opportunity was too great."
So with all this time off, what have you been up to?
The main focus was just to get my body right,
Okay.
my mind right. I did a lot of damage to my liver and gained a lot of weight, so I had to go ahead and lose 46 pounds and just constantly be in therapy and really work on me, as bizarre as that may sound. But I guess I had to figure out who I was and how to be happy prior to being able to do this crazy thing we call rock and roll.
As you can see, Shant looks quite a bit different. He's lost weight, cut his hair, and generally looks a lot healthier and happier than he was looking, say, on the Take Action tour. He also seems a lot more clear-headed. Good for Shant. As I stated, this newly formed Cute had all new members aside from Shant. Shant commented on that in the same Alt Press interview. In January, it was announced that Cute Is What We Aim For would be making a comeback with you at the helm. Does this mean your solo project is no more? It became enveloped in Cute. Cute is my baby, as I will always call it. It's the one thing I can say I made on this earth, and I have a group of people close to me who believe in me and support me. We work together on songs. It's good to have people with you. They saw me at my darkest and stuck by me as I pulled out of it. With people like that, you just can't stop. What made you decide to keep the name alive? I can answer with the BS answer that it's something that'll never die and always be a part of me. While that is true, I know there's more to it than that. There has been so much time, money, effort, and love given and put into this band that I would feel selfish throwing it all away. I mean, as long as the other members are cool with it, seems fine with me, I guess. Although it does seem a little bit like Shant was trying to cash in on the name Cute Is What We Aim For, as opposed to starting anew on his own. However, it doesn't completely rub me the wrong way, and isn't super weird, considering all of the lineup instability they already had, plus Shant was always sort of the face of the band regardless. As far as the new lineup goes, it most notably featured drummer Mike Novak, formerly of metalcore legends Every Time I Die.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, keep it up! 1, 2, 3!
Who are also from Cute Is What We Aim For's hometown of Buffalo, New York. That's pretty fucking insane and cool if you ask me. They returned to the touring circuit that spring with a headlining comeback tour, with support from the Friday Night Boys, the Bigger Lights, and Down with Webster. During this tour, they debuted 2 brand new songs, one called Harbor.
She should have known from the start. Her heart was my favorite part. She should have known from the start. I told you.
And another one called Cookbooks.
I cook the boards, but through and the rest with this. Best of luck, catching up to me.
Personally, I actually think these 2 new songs are fucking awesome. They're super solid tracks that are upbeat, poppy, and have a sense of urgency to them. Not to mention they ooze positivity and happiness, a vibe that wasn't always expressed or explored in the previous Cute Is What We Aim For albums. Even despite the weirdness of the all-new lineup, it sounds like a natural and logical evolution musically from where Shant left off on Rotation. All in all, this was a cool time for Shant in Cute Is What We Aim For. He looked good, he was trying his best to be a nicer guy, the new cute songs were bangers. Even that tour poster art and logo looked fresh as shit. A great third Cute Is What We Aim For seemed to be on the horizon, and it would have been really cool around this time with these songs. However, unfortunately, it never materialized. I'm not sure exactly why. I've heard talk that Shant had an album recorded, but he wasn't fully happy with it. Basically, no album was ever made, the new live band dissolved, and nothing came out of this era besides this tour and a couple songs. It's a shame because the songs from this time were really cool and would have marked a cool time where Shant was getting sober and getting his life together, and, you know, an album kind of representative of that. However, sometimes things just don't work out, including Cute Is What We Aim For's first attempt at a third record. This is the first time this happened, and you will start to notice a pattern here. The second time Cute Is What We Aim For tried to come back was around 2012. This time Shant was back with the full original lineup intact. On August 18th, 2012, the band played an acoustic set with Shant, Fred, and Jeff from the original lineup.
Everyone's a letdown. It just depends on how far down they can go. Circle of friends, there's a whore.
During the set, the band announced that they were officially making a comeback. The band began to start touring again. These were the first shows the band had played with the original lineup in several years. They released a new single called Next to Me.
I pity you, I do. I do, I do, I do. No matter how perfect your body may be, I can find another one next to me.
As well as a song called A Closed Mind with an Open Mouth.
The clock starts ticking as soon as you talk. Drop your jaw like a bomb.
As well as a bunch of other super solid new demos which they uploaded to their SoundCloud page. The band was touring and songs were being released and things seemed super promising. And they stated that they were in the studio recording album number 3. However, once again, for whatever unknown reason, things just never materialized. Bassist Fred Samato once again left the band and eventually so did drummer Tom Falcone. History repeating itself, am I right? Despite this, with a new drummer and a new bassist intact, Shant and Jeff took Cute Is What We Aim For onto the 2014 Vans Warped Tour. But after this, Cute Is What We Aim For yet again went silent. The band reformed yet again in 2016 with almost everybody from the original lineup besides the bass player Fred Samato. This time doing a tour in honor of the 10th anniversary of the Same Old Blood Rush with a New Touch, where they played the album in full. After this tour, talks of a third album began happening yet again. The band went out on some festival dates and also supported We the Kings on the 10-year anniversary tour of their first album, which is pretty cool. So amidst this sort of throwback era, however, Shant found himself getting into some hot water by posting some, unfortunately, truly boneheaded and embarrassing things onto social media. Right before the Blood Rush 10-year tour had started, Shant had said this in a thread on his Facebook page. Quote, "Rape culture isn't a thing. For real. Playing the victim seems to fit the narrative. In my 29 years, I've yet to encounter a human who is looking to rape someone. Everyone loves sex, but I have never met a dude who is going out into the world to commit rape. There may be horrible humans out there who are predators, but to say there is a culture of rape is short-sighted and aggressive. Look into the actual statistics and get back to me." Okay, so obviously these are some pretty ignorant and short-sighted statements, not to mention just straight-up hurtful and dangerous worldviews. I could make a whole video on why these comments are just straight-up messed up and wrong, but needless to say, at this time, the internet handed Shant's ass to him, and rightfully so. People were pissed because this is fucked up. These are weird, gross things to say online. So anyway, people are pissed. Shant posted an apology not long after, and he says, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. I regret my words. I am steadfast in my appreciation to have so many people who know more than I on this topic to take the time to educate me and broaden my perspective. Truly sorry and truly thankful." Okay, you know, he apologized. That's good, I guess. But not long after this incident, in May of 2017 to be exact, so after the 10-year tour had ended, he did it again. This time it was on Twitter, where he posted this. Brace yourselves. "Hey, most claims of sexism and racism are total bullshit. This isn't the 1960s. Please get a grip." What does that mean, Shant? What are you talking about? Obviously, the internet proceeded to yet again hand Shant's ass to him, where he made even more baseless, boneheaded, hurtful, and ill-informed replies to some people who were responding to him on Twitter. To one person, he said, "Have you had any potential employer tell you that you weren't chosen by your sex? If so, please attach a pic." That doesn't make any sense, Shant. Oppression like this happens all the time in countless businesses and things like that, but they would never really say that to someone's face or put it in writing. I don't know why you're asking for proof. One person replied by saying, "Says the cis straight white dude, you're obviously so oppressed." To which Shant replied, "Hysterical. Cis isn't a thing. It was made up 5 years ago and has expanded to 70 plus by crazy people." Okay, now with this, I have absolutely no idea what he's saying or what kind of point he's even trying to make. I don't think he even fully knows what he's talking about either, really, with any of this stuff. I mean, with this comment, it doesn't seem like he understands what cis is as a concept, or if he does, it's a very loose understanding. And that goes for pretty much everything else he was talking about as well. The sexism, the racism, the rape culture, all that. It sounds like a dude who doesn't know what he's talking about, who is very disconnected from the world that we live in. And for whatever reason that may be, it's still no excuse. Stupidity is not an excuse to make comments as hurtful and offensive as Shant was making. Especially considering Shant is a man who was around 30 years old when he made these comments. You'd think he'd spend enough time on Earth and have enough experiences to know that these things are straight up not true. Or you'd think that he would have some, maybe some women in his life who would set him straight and tell him that yes, there are unfortunately plenty of rapists out there. Maybe Shant just wasn't listening. Either way, while I could go on and on about this, one thing that I pulled from this in relation to their career, Cute Is What We Aim For, is that it put a lot of their older lyrics, specifically from their first album, into a different light. For example, songs like The Fourth Drink Instinct, or lyrics like
her bones strike, her screams, touch her, and she's got the curse of curves. In every circle of friends there's a whore. Do hide your skirt, and push her down to give those jams what they crave.
When I listened to this album in middle school, these lines seemed simply just kind of edgy or like sexy or whatever. But after Sean's Twitter comments, and now being an adult, you know, who's grown up a little bit and looking back on this music that I grew up with, it sheds a different light considering Sean's obvious, at least at this point in time, obvious misunderstanding of women and rape culture and sexual scenarios. It's a shame, really, and definitely puts a sour taste in my mouth when it comes to Cute Is What We Aim For as a whole. So, after this whole debacle, it seems that the rest of the members of Cute Is What We Aim For had subsequently left the band, which wasn't actually said in any sort of statement or anything like that. It was revealed when, humorously enough, right after this, Shant did the exact same thing that he did in 2010. Literally the exact same thing. He brought back Cute Is What We Aim For, except now it was Shant and a whole new lineup behind him of completely new people. Also, according to an article in the Boston Herald, he was sober and fresh out of rehab at this point yet again, after it seems to have been revealed that his alcohol problems had returned whilst doing the Blood Rush anniversary shows. He's sober now and back with a new band. How come whenever Shant gets sober, he brings back Cute Is What We Aim For with a new lineup of hired guns? They went on a headlining tour with support from the band Makeout. In that aforementioned Boston Herald article, Shant said the following about the tour. "This tour is all about seeing if I can still do it," he said earlier this week. "The rehab happened early in the summer, and I had a lot of time to think about whether I wanted to keep going down this road. Statistically, this is one of the highest risk occupations you can have for the whole relapse deal, but the only way to find out is by giving it a shot. I could drink on the road, and it would just be the tour lifestyle," he said. "Then I got home, and the tour lifestyle turned into the world tour lifestyle, except that I wasn't leaving the house. I was the one who waved the white flag, going to my parents and my girlfriend and saying that I needed help." After their headlining tour, they were supposed to go out on a co-headlining tour with the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, but on March 11th of this very year, 2019, they posted this onto their Facebook page. "Due to unforeseen circumstances, we have had to pull out of our co-headliner with the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus and all of our scheduled headline dates. And since then, silence. Complete silence. Crickets. So, are Cute Is What We Aim For done now? We don't know. We haven't heard an official statement from anybody. We don't know anything. But God fucking damn it, what a confusing history, am I right? What a weird band. Almost exhausting and stressful when you look at it all spread out like that. It seems like besides, you know, blowing up rather quickly and reaping the rewards of being a key player in the Fueled by Ramen explosion and all that in their early years, it seems like there was never a calm moment for this band. Pretty much any rough waters or any bad thing that could happen to a band, you know, some sort of VH1 behind the music shit, any of those options, they all happened to Cute Is What We Aim For. It seems like some sort of bad juju or an omen was attached to their name ever since the start. However, despite their inconsistencies, their failure to make a proper comeback, and some questionable and kind of heinous Twitter comments along the way, Cute Is What We Aim For's early material, in my opinion, still holds up as you know, very classic and seminal stuff in the emo pop punk scene. They were kind of, honestly, a force to be reckoned with back in the day. A very big band. They influenced a lot of stuff. And, you know, those old albums are still there to go back and listen to, you know, whenever you feel the need to revisit a certain place in your life. For me, that's what it's like for me. Whenever I, you know, like I was saying earlier, if I need to escape, adult life, I can go back and feel what it felt like to be 14 with old Cute Is What We Aim For. Or if you're just interested in the, you know, the emo pop punk wave, you know, of the 2000s, you know what I mean? The same old Blood Rush with a new touch is a great relic to dive into and see what was going on at the time. You know, it ushered in some new stuff. Rotation is a very underrated album, I think. And, you know, a lot of their sort of B-sides that they released since then are also pretty cool if you haven't checked those out. And, of course, there's, you know, a plethora of humorous press photos of them from back in the day with some pretty funny haircuts that, you know, we'll always have to look back on whenever we need a chuckle. So, to wrap it all up, I know this has been a long video, but fuck it, you know, I just wanted to go in on this one. But, this has been the Cozy Representative. I don't know if Cute Is What We Aim For is a band anymore, but, you know, I hope Shant is out there learning and growing every day. You know, hopefully he's in a good place mentally and has talked to people in his life about the things he was saying on Twitter. Hopefully he knows that that's wrong and he's grown from that. I hope that he has. I'm not about condemning people on this channel. I'm about saying, yes, that was messed up, but I hope you've learned from it and you're a better person because of it. So anyway, I hope that's the case for Sean. I hope the other members are doing well and knowing that, you know, in certain circles, like the Cozy Representatives circle, the art that they made is loved still to this day. So, yeah, this has been the Cozy Representative for you. This is the video. I will see you all in 2020. Have an awesome holiday season. I love ya. Peace be with you. Y'all are great. Have an amazing evening. Bye! Boom.